don't mind, can you let the people know the real reason why Tupac was mad at Snoop before he died?
Well, first of all, you know what I mean. We're gonna touch upon an incident in the past, but I look at it from a standpoint of view. All of us, we got older, we grew up, we have kids. Even Snoop, he's a grandfather now, and I think one of the ways that we can put our past behind us is manning up, especially if we try to be role models to these youngsters. You know what I mean? We all did things in our life that none of us can, that we all regret at times, or we all probably don't. Even if we don't regret it, we're not proud of it. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I like to try to do, I try to man up to my past. It's my past. I said things, I did things that I don't agree with now. And I think if Snoop will come around and he do the same thing, that will make him more of a role model in the eyes of these youngsters, because how you gonna, you know what I mean, lead the youngsters in the right direction if you're not confronting your past head on and being man enough about it. For example, Snoop said, yeah, look, man, I was involved in the East Coast, West Coast beef. It was 20 years ago. I'm doing positive things now, and I have a football team or a football league. Yeah, I was all in. You know what I mean? I was dissing Biggie. They shot at us, but after a while, we was able to sit down and shake hands. But he's not doing that. You know what I mean? And I don't know what reason for whatever reason, it's strange to me that he's not doing that. You know what I mean? Because Biggie or Pac isn't here around. The East Coast, West Coast beef is not around anymore. So just man up. You know what I mean? So as you see, a lot of fans and even myself, I keep sitting back saying, why Snoop not just being man enough and explain what really happened? So basically, when Snoop was in LA with Pac and Pac came to Death Row, man, everybody was doing songs dissing Bad Boys, dissing Biggie, and Snoop was doing it with him. You know what I mean? He was doing songs dissing Biggie. He was with Pac, and he was riding on Biggie and riding on Puffy. But when he went to New York and got on the radio, he was like, you know what I mean? Pac was listening to the radio interview, and Snoop was like, nah, I don't have no beef with Biggie and Puffy. They're my homeboys. So Pac like, man, just a few weeks ago or just recently in L.A., you dissing them in a recording studio. You know what I mean? But then when you come here, you saying something else. So that's the whole thing about it, man. Pac was 25 years old when he died. If Pac was around now, God knows best, he probably would have sat down with Biggie. He probably would have squashed that beef. You know what I mean? But the 25-year-old Pac, he wouldn't have been ashamed to be 40, 45 years old saying, look, I was doing that, going at Biggie and Puffy back in the day, but we was able to sit down like men. That's what we need from these artists. We need some type of accountability. Keep it real. Be straightforward. Teach. If you're going to lead the youngsters in a positive direction, you have to come clean. You know what I mean? So Snoop is not coming clean for whatever reason. He keeps throwing Pac under the bus. He making it seem like Pac is a troublemaker. And I don't know. You know what I mean? I guess he want to have this positive image and say, you know, I was the good guy. Pac was the bad guy. No, you was in the studio with Pac. You was dissing him with Pac. You know what I mean? Be man enough to say, look, man, this is how it is. I changed my ways and that's it. But he keep throwing Pac under the bus. He not keeping it real. But those that are close, they know what's up. And this is not an attack on Snoop. You know what I mean? Because I'll tell him this in his face. You know what I mean? This is not an attack on Snoop, and Snoop know that. You know what I mean? And I even touch on some of these things in my book, how after Pac died, I went straight to Snoop and said some words to him face to face in front of the whole death row while Pac was mad at him. And he know I was the one who done it then, and I would do it again now. But it's not an attack on him. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, that's how he liked to move. Nobody knows why but him.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, Suge Knight the one that told you to do that, right?
No, Suge was just like, we was all there. Suge was like, we're going to let one of Pac homies speak. Moo. He just caught me off guard. I wasn't even expecting to talk, but I had so much rage in me at that particular time that I was mad that, of course, at the death of Pac, but I wanted to take that anger out on somebody. And the only person in that room at that time I felt was like the weakest link at that particular time was Snoop. So I turned around, I was like, yeah, Snoop. And, you know what I mean, Pac was upset. How can you do that to him? You know what I mean? Pac loves Snoop. And I'm sure, you know, God willing, I think Snoop got love for Pac, and I don't know, maybe he's doing he's moving about this way for whatever his own personal gain or whatever. But I do think it definitely was some genuine love there. You know what I mean? And I just told him how Pac felt, and his reply was, yeah, you know, I'm like Malcolm X the way I move. I mean, I'm like Martin Luther King the way I move, and Pac was more like Malcolm X. You know what I mean? So if you can do the same thing now, because it's hard for us, especially, you know what I mean? He's a grandfather. He has a lot of people that look up to him. If he can come up and be straight up and keep it real, like, yeah, I made mistakes, but I don't agree with my past, instead of just trying to make it seem like he was the choir boy in Death Row Records or whatever, you know what I mean? You know, so it's not an attack on him. It just it's the reality and it's the truth. And I hope that if he do hear this interview, he do hear this, he can look at it from a positive standpoint of view and say, you know what, that's right, that's true. Let me confront my past so that I can show these youngsters that you will make mistakes in life, but you still can bounce back from that. You're still gonna make mistakes, and you can, you know what I mean. You might do something one year, 5 years later, you can look back at it and say,